So here's a small demo on how SysInternal works. So I have provided the link for SysInternals in the slides, as well as you can just go to Google and just type SysInternals, and you will be able to see, the go to the SysInternals website. Just click on this link, and it will bring you to a website like this. Over here, if you go to downloads, you will be able to download the SysInternals. So it's just like you can say it when you download it, it's in the form of a zip file that you can just like unzip and start working. Here you have different utilities. So if we look here in process, we have, the auto runs. So auto run utility, you can read the description as well. So basically every time your computer starts, some programs or some applications in your computer, they are on auto run. They will start along with the operating system, like they start by default. So the viruses or malwares, in order to start every time, what they try to do is they try to connect or link to these auto run programs. So when your program starts and the auto run program starts, the virus will also start, or the malware will also start on the machine. So it has a tool like for this. Similarly, the list DLLs, you have the process list, PS list, and multiple different tools as well. So on this website, you can see how they work, like what are the syntax to use this tool, what is the purpose of the tool, and so on. So this is how it looks. So let me go to downloads. I have unzipped the file, SysInternals, and here you have all those plugins or all those utilities. So if you just double click on auto run, it will give you something like this. And here you can see these are all the programs that are on auto run on the virtual machine that I am using. The next thing to do, let's check the network connections. So network connections, if you want to see like what network connections the user or the computer has made at any given time, in the network utility, you will find a lot of different plugins or utilities. One of them is TCP view. So TCP view, this is how it will look like. There's complete introduction of it, how to use this TCP view from command line, and so on. So there's a utility for TCP view here as well. So this one, TCP view application. When you run this application, you will see an interface like this one, and you can see like it shows me all the processes that have created some sort of connection. What is the local address from which they have created the connection? It will be mainly the IP address of my machine, the port number that these are using, and then the remote addresses and the port number to which they have established the connection. So by looking at these IP addresses, so we can do the reverse IP address search. Like for example, if we know the IP address, we can search the domain that belongs to, or that is connected to this IP address as well. Similarly, you have create times as well, like at what time this connection was created, what is the type of the connection, whether it's the TCP version 6, like whether it's UDP, and so on. And it also tells you the name and PID of the process that initiated it. So there are like a lot of other utilities as well in SysInternal tools that you can use. So depending on your case, you can use them. One thing to keep in mind, since we are running all these applications inside the system, so we are doing live forensics, right? We are inside a system, the VM that I'm using, and I'm exploring these things, the different applications or data structures inside this same virtual machine. So by doing all this, it is like leaving a fingerprint or leaving a footprint on the RAM. So we should try to avoid this type of analysis, and we should go for static analysis via volatility. But for cases where we don't have anything like that, we don't have the access to take the memory dumps, and live forensics is the only way you can do it using this is internal tools for Windows PCs. For volatility, as I mentioned in the lecture video, just go to their website, volatilityfoundation.org, and over there, go to the downloads, and you will see the different releases. So just look for these standalone executable files. So you can either download Volatility 2 or Volatility 3. So for this course, I will be using Volatility 2, but you feel free to download the Volatility 3 as well if you like that. So just download the standalone version according to your operating system, Windows, Mac, or Linux. So once you download it, just unzip it, and there will be like an executable file with the whole name, like volatility underscore 2.6 underscore max 64 standalone. Just rename that file. I have renamed it to volatility. Once you do that, open the terminal in this particular software, this particular folder. Like here, I have opened it here. Now you can type, for the Mac users, since I am using Mac, I will be showing you the commands or how you can use it on Mac. So just type volatility, VOLOD minus H. So this minus H is used basically for help. So when you press this command or run this command, it is showing you, which version of volatility installed. So volatility foundation version 2.6. Then it tells you what are the different syntax configurations that you can use. Minus F. What is this for? As I mentioned in the lecture, it is for telling the volatility about the file that we'll be using for memory analysis, and so on. And then you can see a long list of different plugins. As you can see, there are tons of different plugins that you can use, and all these plugins did give you different type of information from that particular memory location. Now, the next thing is, if you guys want, so I have provided the links for these websites as well. So here is first is the volatility usage. So here it's a complete guide on how to use volatility. It's the same thing, it will tell you like selecting profile that we discussed during the lecture, what that is, and so on. Similarly, the details of all these plugins, like what they do, how they work. For example, let's see this PS list. So this tells you what the PS list, how it works, what should expect from the PS list, how to use the plugin right here, how they write the command, and also the output, like what will you see when you run this plugin as well. Lastly, the samples are also available. So if you want to analyze different, memory samples, you can go to their volatility GitHub page, and there you have the memory samples. The memory that you captured using FTK Imager in part 1 of your lab, we can use one of those memory dumps as well. Or you can just, for lab 2, after if you're done with lab 1, for lab 2, you can just create a new snapshot at, on your Windows machine, and just start working on that. Or you can download anything from here. So for this demo, I am working on the Crydex memory dump, and it is available here, malware Crydex. Just download it, and I have installed it in the same folder in which I have the volatility installed. So why I installed it? Because I don't want to give it the complete address. I just told it that it is in the same folder that we are using volatility. This memory image will also be there. So let's jump back to the volatility. So the first thing that I need to do is, after this whole thing, so here, this command. So I'm typing volatility. This is to run the volatility, just that. Minus F, I'm telling which memory or memory dump I'm looking to explore. So it is crydex.vmem. And then I run the image info plugin. So let's run it. So this thing will take a little bit of time because it is trying to figure out or determine the profile of this Crydex mem dump. And as you guys can see, it has suggested me this profile that it looks like Windows XP SPS2 version 86, right? 86 architecture. So the next is to use this information. And to do that, what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna just do this volatility minus F, again the file name that I'm analyzing. This is the new information. So I just wrote the minus minus profile equal to, just copy this whole thing from here, paste it here, and then you can start writing the name of the different plugins that you want to use. So first, let's start with PS list. So if I type PS list, I will get a list of all the processes that are running on this machine when this memory was captured. So you can see, like, you see this volatility offset. So this is, the address of the different uh, application or process data structure in the memory. This is the name of the process that is running, the process ID, its parents ID, threads, number of handles. Again, you see the starting time as well. And some of the processes, like some processes, they run temporarily, like, they do their job and then they exit. So for those cases, you will see some exit times here as well. But generally, like, you will see start time for all of the processes. There are a couple of other, plugins that you can use for analyzing the process. So let's explore them one by one as well. So PS list is one, PS view. This is another one. It is like, a bit more in depth as compared to PS list. So let's wait for a second. Oh, it's PSX view. Yep, PSX view. So this is how the outlook will be, or the output will be for when you run the PSX view. So there are three different things or three different plugins that you can use to see the processes. One is PS list, the other one is PS scan that I showed in the that was there in the lecture. The third one is PSX view. So sometimes what happens is, if there is a malicious program that tries to hide itself from these different plugins, so it is possible that PS list or PS scan might not be able to catch or might not be able to identify that particular application running or that particular process running. So PSX view is like in-depth analysis plugin that kind of runs all these different process scans and give you whether all these individual scans were able to find a process or not. So if for some particular process you see that PS list or PS scan fail, like the first two columns, if you see a false here, then that means that that process is trying to hide itself. All right, so that will be a suspicious process, and you can try to explore more, or do the in-depth analysis on that particular process whenever you are doing malware analysis or trying to identify the viruses. So now let's try to see the open connections that might be running on this particular machine. So there are two different plugins, actually three: NetScan, ConScan, and Socket. So let's first run ConScan. So again, the syntax is same. Once you have identified the profile, these first things will remain the same. Just the plugins, their names will change. So depending whatever plugin you're using. So conscan basically scans this whole memory and identifies or extracts the TCP connections that were there. So we have two TCP connections. So this is their, local address and port number, and this is the remote address and the remote port to which your PC was communicating. And then we see this PID. So PID is like which process created this particular connection. So we see a PID of 1484. If we go into our process list, let's see, this is explorer.exe. This process has this PID of 1484. All right. So that means this explorer.exe started this particular connection to these two remote hosts. The first one is 41.168.5.140, and the second one is 125.19.103.198. So now let's see if we are able to find something else. So if you guys see here, we have this one particular process which is reader sl.exe, and it has a process ID of 1640. And if you go look at the PS list output, let me see. All right. Right here, we have the same one, 1640, and its parent process is the explorer.exe. So the network connections that were created that we saw by the conscan command, it is possible that they might have been created by the explorer.exe or they might have been created by reader.sl.exe because it is a child process of this explorer.exe. So this, like, we want to, since this Crydex is a malware, so this kind of is a suspicious process that we want to explore in detail. So now what we can do is we can either analyze the whole thing, or once you have identified a malicious process running on on a system from its memory, we can just focus our analysis on that particular process. So there are two ways to do that, or say focus our energies on any given process. So the first thing is just to dump the memory of this particular process separately on a different file and then try to analyze that file. So for doing that, there are two different plugins that you can use. All right. So the first one is called proc dump. So the syntax is like this. You have all the remaining part, same things, you wrote for the other commands. Proc dump is the name of the plugin. Then you tell proc dump that which process we are focusing on. So this -p tells that process number, and we have written the number of the process 1640, which is right here, reader_sl.exe. Then we want to dump the memory of this process onto another directory which we have created, which is dump slash. It will create a directory in the same folder in which volatility is right now, and put this memory dump over there. So there are two different plugins that you can use: proc dump and mem dump. So every application that you use, as I mentioned in the lecture, it has two components. First is the executable. For example, Microsoft Word, Google Chrome, whatever application name is, it will have an executable file, which is the .exe file that runs on your machine. And then it will have some user data. So this proc dump plugin, it dumps or it extracts the executable of a given program and stores it on your hard drive that you can use for later analysis. So after running this plugin, as you can see, it is showing the result okay, and it tells me that it has extracted the executable of this particular program from the memory, and it has stored it on the hard drive. Now this thing is like an active malware. So my PC, whenever I try to do that and go and check, it is automatically deleting it. There is some kind of security, or you can say like antivirus running in the background by GVSU. So if you do it on your own PCs, just like if there is any window defender or something like that, disable it for a minute, and you will be able to see this executable file. What you can do with this executable file is that there are a lot of websites available that you can use for analyzing whether a web executable is malicious or not. One such example is VirusTotal. So just go to Google and type VirusTotal, the first link. You go there. Here you can upload this file. Just select this file from your local drive, and this service or this website will analyze this file on your behalf, and it will compare it with known malwares and known viruses, and will tell you whether this is malicious or not. So if you try this all this demo, you will exercise you will have to do in the lab 3. So when you are doing the lab 3, you will see that this executable is actually a malicious file, which is the Crydex malware. All right. So this is how you can use volatility. So one more thing, let's try to do the other memory dump as well. So we have looked into the executable. Let's see what we can get from the memory of the process. So for that, we're going to use the plugin called memdump. So proc dump is for the executable, and memdump is for the whole memory, right? Including the user stuff as well. So we're going to dump this memory on this particular directory. So let's do it. So it has written all the memory to this file 1640.dmp. Let's see if we have this file over here. And you guys can see it has created 1640.dmp, right? Now we can analyze this file using string. So let's quickly do that as well. So we can use strings to analyze this particular memory dump. So what you need to do in order to analyze or use strings is, it is a utility for Linux. It will be there already installed, but you can, if it is not, you can just Google how to install it. So just type strings, then give the name and location of the file. So now it is in the dump slash 1640.dmp. This is the path to this particular file. Then what we want to do is, like, if we just don't write anything like here, it will just dump or extract all the different strings that are there in this particular dump. But we want to filter it, so we use the grep command. So this thing is for the piping, like whatever in output we get from this command, string command, it will be given to the grep command. And in grep command, if you guys remember, this was the open port, right? Open IP, the IP to which this explorer.exe was establishing a connection. So we want to investigate, that what is this IP, and whether this IP address, even though it was used by explorer.exe, but whether it is connected to this reader sl.exe or not. Like, who is the actual, which one of these two is the actually the parent or the originator of this particular internet connection. So what we do is, I will type -fi. So that means -f is for finding, I is to make it case insensitive. So always do that if you're not searching for any case sensitive file. Then the string that we want to search. Then we have this thing which is context. So context is basically telling the grep that wherever you see this particular string that we are searching, show us 5 lines above that and 5 lines below that. So now there will the output will be in total of 11 lines. One where it actually finds this thing, the string we are searching, 5 lines above it and 5 lines below it. So let's run this. Here you can see that inside the memory of the reader sl.exe, we find that there is actual usage that it is trying to communicate to this IP address, which is 141.168.5.140. So that kind of confirms that this reader.slx, it is a kind of a malicious process. It is communicating with some other entity, and it is trying to, share some data with it. So another thing, again, with the strings, we can, if we don't specify the grep or we don't use grep, we use less command. So basically less will show you the output one page at a time. So these are all the strings extracted from that memory dump. And as you can just, press the arrows, you can go up and down. So let's see if we find anything malicious. So far, apart from these things, this is the C program adobe. This is the location where that executable is. And let's keep on going and see if we find something. Here, this is something interesting. So we see that there inside the memory of this program, there are the web addresses of a lot of banking services. So you have Wells Fargo, you have PNC, you have Bank of America, you have Chase.com, and so on. So why does this particular program is contain the information or the web addresses for all these banking services? So that kind of increases our suspicion more that definitely this thing is doing something malicious. So we can pinpoint, or we can say that this particular program reader underscore sl.exe, this is a malicious program that is running on your device. So this is just like a demo how you can use the volatility, how you can use strings. So don't worry if you don't understand anything, and or if it is too overwhelming. All this will be part of your lab 3, and you will be required, or you will be asked to repeat the same process on your own. So I will provide you all the links that we have used, also the details of all the commands and everything in the lab 3 document. And your job will be just to, recreate it, go through the volatility, try to play with it as much as possible. So in total, we will have 2 labs on volatility or memory analysis. The first one will be the lab 3, which will be 1 week long, and it will be for you guys to, with all the help to get used to volatility. Next, we will have our case study, which will be a bigger lab, 3 weeks long lab, and it will be way difficult, or more difficult than these ones. So fully utilize the lab 3 time that you have, try to play with the volatility, try to see how the analysis is done. And for the case study or lab 4, you guys will have 3 weeks, and you can also make groups up to 3 people. So work in groups and try to, like, I will give you the memory dump and I will ask you a bunch of questions, like around 20 questions. You will have to answer 10 out of them in order to receive full credit. So lab 4 gonna be 3 weeks long. It's gonna be a bit difficult. Now you have time with lab 3. It will be up by, say, Friday max, and you will have 1 week to finish that. Play with it, play with volatility, try seeing how the plugins work, try see and like try to understand the overall process of inquiring, or like doing the malware analysis or doing the analysis on any particular memory dump. So if you have any questions, just email me or send me a message on Slack.